We're going to start this week how we always started, but you already revealed the answer to your question of the week.
A lot of responses to this one, huh?
Yeah, it's
a hot topic.
It's topical. Yeah. The MMA Hour question of the week. Not that your other questions aren't topical. Sorry for that. Who should the UFC have booked versus Max Holloway after Frankie Edgar's injury? And then remember, we're live in less than 2 hours. But if you're tuned in now, you made the right call and tuned in when Ariel prompted you. But let's bring up the answer here.
At the time, it was, 48% for Killer Cub?
Cub Swanson. Oh, man, so many tweets. Hold on. We'll get it.
Who, for me? I've been doing a show for 5 hours.
Yeah, but you've been tweeting them all the live stuff. We know we can count on you for that. Okay, here we have it. Question of the week. The answers were, or the possible responses were Jose Aldo, Cub Swanson, Brian Ortega, Ricardo Lamas, and with 17,000 votes, 48% still, Cub Swanson, 40% Jose Aldo, 9% Ortega, 3% Ricardo Lamas.
By the way, I wouldn't have hated on Brian Ortega getting that shot. I don't know about y'all, but I like those kind of stories.
I'm okay with it.
Too soon?
No. I mean, he hasn't faced an opponent in the top 10. Has he faced a top 10 opponent?
Brian Ortega?
Yeah.
Not really.
I don't think so. So it's a bit of a huge jump to go to Holloway, who's looked, absolutely unstoppable. But I wouldn't have been as mad at it. In my opinion, I'm Aldo, then Ortega, then Swanson, then Lamas. That's my kind of order.
Aldo, Ortega. Wow, Swanson third?
I've seen it. And Ortega's fresh. That's the difference there.
Wow.
Aldo I saw too, but it looked like he was
winning streak, sports psychologist.
Swanson Ortega toss up.
Wow.
How about that? But for me, Aldo was the right choice.
It was.
That's ultimately where
Is there any part of you that's a little Jose Aldo'd out?
No. For years, it's been, we don't get enough Aldo. He's too secretive in the public eye. We don't hear from him. We don't see him. He fights, infrequently. Now, hey, let's more Jose Aldo. I'm all in on it. I like Aldo versus Holloway.
It's amazing how this sport goes. Remember in June, we thought, all right, that's the end of the Aldo era. One punch away now, and we're back in the Aldo era.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was pulling for Swanson. I felt like it was a fresh matchup, but I knew, considering the fact that he had one fight left, that it was almost an impossible scenario. And so I think a lot of things were working in Aldo's favor here.
Yeah.
I do feel
and don't get me
Ricardo.
Wrong. I'd like to see Swanson. I'd like to see Swanson Holloway. It's just not under these circumstances.
Well, what do you mean? What's the difference?
Because he has a fight, finish that fight, then maybe we talk about the next.
So if Swanson beats Ortega,
I'm okay. If Swanson beats Ortega, Holloway beats Aldo, I'm fine with that next. Yeah. I'm all about that.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Holloway beats Aldo, Swanson beats Ortega. Do you do Holloway Swanson next, or do you do Holloway Edgar? Because you presume Edgar would be ready to come back. You're probably going to pick Edgar because that's the fresh matchup, and I don't blame you. I really want to see that fight. I really wanted to see that fight.
It depends. However the timing works out, I'd say give it to either one of them. I feel like at that point, Aldo. You know what the thing is? Title shots are never done like that anymore. I don't think if Edgar sits out, I think he loses some cachet there. I think Swanson's going to be fresh. That's just what happens.
I'll say this about 145. It's kind of like the anti-170.
Right.
There's not a lot going on there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the same names. I don't feel like there's a huge influx of young guys. There's Ortega, but otherwise, not a ton of big names.
Yeah.
Young guys.
If I was a 135er,
go up.
Might start, angling up. If I was a 135er who's having a tough cut, maybe, insert yourself into that conversation.
John Lineker.
No.
Just kidding.
Not that.
What about a 155er? It's so jam-packed.
Well, I'm not about to advocate for guys to start cutting more weight, but who makes the most sense to fight Lamas?
Yeah, that is a fascinating question. I feel for Lamas. So what? It's a little over a month away, right? December 16th. I don't want to see Ariel Rodriguez take that fight too soon. I do believe Elkins just got a fight. Jeremy Stevens just got married. Bermudez?
I'm into that.
I mean, now you're going all the way down. I mean, it's not a lot to gain here for Ricardo Lamas.
So what do you do? Do you wait?
I don't know. What's Mirsad Bektik up to? Yeah, I don't know. Do you wait? You want to get paid? Is there anyone from 135 that come up? Meet in the middle? I don't know. They're going to have to find one.
It's tough.
It's not going to be a great situation. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's tough.
Maybe Jeremy Stevens takes that fight, right? I mean, I feel like that would be one that makes sense if he's willing to fight. He just got married, but he had that big win over Gilbert Melendez. I feel like there's some momentum behind him, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
There's a lot of guys in the 10 to 20 range that are, viable. It's just if you're Lamas, that's a tough.
Yeah, you go from fighting Jose Aldo.
Yeah, that's a tough one to go from fighting Aldo to somebody who's in the 10 to 15, 10 to 15, 10 to 20 range.
Yep.
Coming off back-to-back wins, it's tough. No good answer for that tough situation for Lamas. Do you think anything will come, I guess we'll say, in the result of, a penalty or some kind of, what's the word, punishment from McGregor losing it at the Bellator event?
This is the fascinating thing because he wasn't licensed. I want to hear from the UFC that they were really willing. I mean, I don't know if it was that easy, to be honest. I had not heard that they had come to terms that they were gonna, give him a piece of the pie, make it a co-promotion. That's a big bridge to cross and then to take away for something that happened in Bellator, right? The thing about Conor is, and this is something that I've heard from, it's so funny, like MMA fans, MMA media, people in the MMA bubble that love this sport, that live and breathe this sport, are like, yeah, I mean, this is indefensible, right? I mean, how could you defend this? This can't happen. This shouldn't happen. It's just not a good look. And then from all my casual, everyone's seen the clip, right? All my casual fan friends who just kind of check in and out were like, oh man, Conor's the best, right? Conor doesn't give an F. Look how great this guy is. He's hilarious. Did you notice that as well? Like people who care about MMA and recognize what's the correct protocol, what's right and wrong. Like, no, I mean, like we all enjoy Conor. We all recognize how great he is. We all know what he's done for the sport. But yeah, this is a tough one to defend. And then all the other people are like, oh man, this makes Conor even cooler in my opinion. Well, this makes him more popular in my opinion. This is brilliant branding. What great marketing. Way to stay in the news, Conor.
Because we care about the day-to-day. We care about how this affects the sport. We care about the nuance. Whereas they're just popping in whenever Conor McGregor is fighting and, this is just adding to the legend. But we care about every single day what's happening in MMA.
And so my point is, Conor's even more popular now to the casual. Why would you take him off the card? He didn't necessarily break a rule in the sense that he's a licensed guy or you went in there when the fight was over. It was clearly an infraction, but he was essentially no different than a fan jumping into the cage that night, right? No different.
No.
He was a spectator.
Unlicensed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If let's say he was, not a fighter, he could have been family of Charlie Ward or somebody, just unlicensed, completely,
And so the situation is they didn't press charges, right? The 3 Arena didn't kick him out. They sure as heck ain't doing that. And so what could you do after the fact? Now, there is that Bellator employee, Mike Johnson, fight operations, the one who was apparently slapped. You saw that on the TMZ clip. Will he do something? We don't know. But what could they do afterwards? Is Nevada going to say no to him? Come on now. I just don't see anything happening.
It's very difficult for Nevada or somebody else to be accountable for something that didn't happen under their jurisdiction.
They didn't take the fight away when he threw the cans. I mean, that was equally as dangerous. Someone could have died.
Beyond being equally dangerous, it was in their jurisdiction.
Yeah, he was licensed.
That was licensed and in Nevada.
They punished it and then they took back the punishment.
Now they
reduced it.
They're being, the ABC is pushing it onto other people who are not on site or not involved in the situation to punish somebody, it's a very difficult thing. I ultimately think, I understand that people are saying that this is unacceptable and there should be some punishment, but I also understand the point of view if you're somebody who is not involved in the situation or it didn't happen under your jurisdiction, to not say, okay, we're going to punish you for this. I understand it. I get it.
My prediction, look, if you say, all right, we're suspending you for 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like, suspending a starting pitcher for
4 days,
7 days.
Yeah.
You're missing one start. You know what I mean? Or, so his return is delayed. Like, I hate to tell everyone this, but like the UFC needs Conor McGregor, and you can make a case that right this second they need him more than he needs them. And so I just find it shocking. That I would be shocked, I should say, if they pull him from a fight because of something that happened in a Bellator cage. And I've seen a lot of people say, look at this quote from Dana White about Jason High. Look at this quote from Dana White about Roy Nelson. Well, first of all, we all know that there are different rules for different people. Yeah. And second of all, he's just going to say, look, I wasn't in a fight. He was there. I didn't know what's going on. Their security sucked. They shouldn't have done this. It's very easy for them to get around this.
And to be honest, he's not wrong if he says that. I cannot fault somebody for saying that. It's not his responsibility.
But let's just be very clear here, because I know some people will try to twist this. Like, we are not condoning this.
No.
I don't want people jumping into the cage. No. I'm just being asked, like, what do I think is going to happen? And what I think is going to happen, at least as of right now, from the temperature that I'm taking, is not that much.
Yeah.
What could they do? What could Mike Mazzulli do? As much as he is respected and wants to do something, what could he do? He's not a licensed fighter at Mohegan. He can recommend based on his position as the president of the ABC, but what could he really do, and who's going to listen, right?
It would require somebody...
Fascinating story.
It would require somebody sacrificing something that's in their own best interest to do it, and that doesn't seem reasonable at this point. Now, it was wrong, but in this circumstance, it seems like he either calculated it properly or got lucky. One of the two. And I don't imagine much is going to be coming from it punishment wise. Here's the question that's at the root of it though. Does he deserve to miss that start if he was a pitcher? Does he deserve to have that fight taken away? Should there be a punishment? The root of all this.
Like if you ignore the dysfunction as far as commissions are concerned, and if someone wants to say like, look, we're punishing you as a combatant, you fight. I'm the president of the ABC, and everyone's going to pay attention. There should be some sort of, what should I say? I don't like the word punishment, but there
repercussions for what he did.
There should be repercussions for the actions.
Yeah.
Especially because we are still not clear as to whether or not the fight was called off.
Yeah.
So if you're jumping in the cage while a fight is still hanging in the air, like that's a big deal. You just can't do that. And I feel like Conor. And maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like he would be the first one to say that. And I know it was emotional, and I know Charlie Ward means a lot to him, and I know he's had some struggles, and I know this was an important fight in Dublin. I know and understand all those things. But like I said at the top, I wish he just would have waited. Wait a minute. Wait till the fight is officially called off. Wait till the result is announced, and then jump in, and then go crazy. We all love you for it, but don't do it at that moment. You can't do that.
I have a feeling Conor will ultimately also, when the first time he talks about this, kind of land where that is. I don't think his head or the emotion got the best of him. I don't think his head was to disrupt the fight. I really don't. But I do think the emotions got the best of him, and ultimately we can't have that. It's just not what this sport is about. You can't just have rogue people flying into the cage.
And so our colleague Casey Leiden, our great videographer, brings up this question, which is actually a fascinating question and somewhat related and apropos. Did the UFC punish Nate Diaz during the Strikeforce brawl, his involvement in the Strikeforce brawl?
Right.
They did not.
Yeah. And I understand it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get why you would not.
I can't see the UFC saying, as a result of something that happened at a Bellator event that we had nothing to do with, we're now going to punish him, and as a result, punish ourselves.
It's very difficult.
And
I understand it. Okay.
Fascinating.
I saw a bit of this, so I thought it was worth asking this question from PD and Gia. Conor's behavior was wrong. However, should the Bellator employee have tried to push someone from the top of the cage like that, dangerous way to handle the situation, he could fall to the metal floor far below him. And then he says something else about from where he's from. People get sad. But there was a lot of talk about Conor being pushed off the cage. Is that the right way to handle it?
There was a lot of talk of people saying Goddard touched Conor and had no right to touch Conor. God bless Conor McGregor's fans. They are the most loyal fans out there. They will back their guy till the death. They will support him. I mean, just look at the mentions in Goddard's, Twitter after his tweet. I tweeted about it. God bless these human beings. They love him. But in this case, as I said, I do believe it's indefensible. Like what? Goddard as the referee, as the guy who's literally put in place to restore order or, enforce order. In that situation, there's 3 people that are supposed to be in the cage during a fight. 3. The 2 combatants and the referee. What do you want him to do? Hold him by the hand? Come on. And it wasn't exactly the most aggressive push. Now, top of the cage thing, I don't know.
I think...
Are we saying, okay, so what are we saying? 2 wrongs make a right here? What are we saying? This guy should have never touched... I don't know.
What we have to chalk that up to is Conor was the one who created this chaos. In the chaos...
Right.
This person was trying to gain control of the situation. Was that the optimal way? Probably not, but this situation was out of control at that point, and you can't fault that person for trying to restore some semblance of order. And obviously, I mean, I'm not even going to talk about can Mark Goddard try to do that? Of course, that is his role, as you said perfectly.
Yeah.
That is what he is there for, as well as the other commissioners and people involved in the regulation. So no, I think, Conor McGregor put himself in that hornet's nest.
And I guess the next thing to now discuss if you are a regulator is, should Mark Goddard be reffing SBG fights? Clearly, there is an issue there. And whether it's, yelling out instructions and following the action, like in Poland or this situation, it's just too hostile. It's just too emotional. And it's unfortunate because Goddard is one of the best and you don't want to take him away from a situation where he is the best guy available for a fight involving a Brian Moore or a Charlie Ward or I don't know, some other, an Artem Lobov, etc. But in this case, I kind of feel like they should just remove him from the equation so that nothing else happens.
Yeah. I mean, you can't point to anything in that fight that necessarily somebody's going to have an objection to. It's just the circumstances that followed it that create, this. There is a narrative here. There is some kind of story here that's worth just distancing from.
And you know what's crazy? I feel like there's only 2 fighters that Conor would show up for at this point and be this emotional about, and it's Artem and Charlie.
Sure. 2
active fighters. I don't know if he's showing up to a James Gallagher fight. As much as he must love him and respect him and admire him, I don't know if he's making the trek to Poland for that fight. But Artem and Charlie are guys who are with him all the time. Unless Owen Roddy comes back, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But you get my point. And so Goddard happens to be the ref for those 2 fights, and something happens. So maybe it's time to take a bit of a break.
How do you feel about our next question? How do you feel about the Conor incident being used as promo for Bellator?
Look, Bellator is going to take advantage of the situation, and I thought Andy Ryan said it very well to our own PT Carroll. They weren't disappointed about this. They loved it. They could not get this out quick enough. Do I begrudge them for it? Not necessarily. This is the promotional business. This is cage fighting.
Fair play.
Yeah, I don't think that they orchestrated this.
No, come on.
Certainly, Conor shows up. You put Charlie Ward on the main card. Conor shows up. You're like, oh boy, we could now show Conor on our screen. This is fantastic. Now, should the arena security have recognized that maybe he's a little, colorful and animated and roaming, and maybe we should... I mean, he runs Dublin, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Throw Conor out?
I think it's absolutely fair play.
There'll be a riot if they throw him out. So no, I was not surprised, and I don't necessarily begrudge them for using that as the one time tape delay actually helps them.
Yeah. You get enough time to cut the promo, you put out a commercial.
Yeah, now they're going to be using this as their excuse for tape delay.
There you go.
I hate the damn tape delay.
Okay. Is Bellator making a mistake by not putting their own homegrown fighters like Justin Wren and Bobby Lashley in the heavyweight tournament? Justin Wren, I don't know. Maybe I consider him more made his name on tough.
Yeah.
But point being, should people were asking specifically a lot about Bobby Lashley. Should there be more Bellator heavyweights in the heavyweight tournament?
I had heard that Bobby Lashley, initially when I heard about this tournament, remember when Scott, I don't ever do this, but I'll do this time. Remember when Scott Coker was on the show and I asked him about a Rampage and I asked him about the heavyweights and then I asked him about a tournament? Do you remember that?
I remember, yes.
You probably weren't listening. Anyway, it was because I knew about the tournament, but I had to keep that one under my hat because it wasn't 100% just yet. And I heard that Bobby Lashley was a part of it initially. I don't know why he's out. I don't know how committed he is to, doing MMA these days. He's a part of Impact Wrestling. I know his contract is coming up. Maybe there's some interest in going back to WWE. But you can't deny that they chose like the most popular 8 guys that they could choose. I don't love the idea of Chael fighting at heavyweight. And I'm sorry to have
ruined Rampage today.
He brings up a good point, but who's he going to fight? Okay, so if not Chael, who do you put? So Fedor Mir, right? Who you gonna have Rampage fight? And by the way, Scott Coker just tweeted out the poster, and it's a nice looking poster. And by the way, how about Invicta and Boss Logic coming together?
How about that poster?
I'm surprised you didn't put that in Rick's picks.
It came out too late. Too late in the game.
Beautiful poster.
Boss Logic doing the Invicta poster.
So who are you gonna have him fight? Not Ryan Bader. He doesn't want Ryan Bader, right?
I think
not King Mo. We've been there, done that. Fedor Mir. So it's either Sonnen, Mitrione, or Nelson.
You're going to get, not everybody's going to get the draw they want.
Yeah, and
that's just the reality of a tournament. And eventually you're going to have to fight somebody that you're not going to want to fight. I think, you can't control that circumstance, but
imagine an alternate wins this one too.
It's a reality of the tournaments. Yeah. Look, Rory McDonald's ready. You put him in there.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Oh my
Rory
God.
McDonald.
Rory wins the tournament.
Imagine he's the heavyweight and welterweight champion, not heavyweight and light heavyweight, not welterweight and middleweight, heavyweight and welterweight. I love it.
That would be I would say that takes the top champ distinction. If he was the Bellator heavyweight and welterweight champion, I would be impressed.
Yeah.
I would say he's the most worthy champ. Okay. With the fluky manner in which Dustin Poirier won, will that affect his chances?
It wasn't fluky. Get out of here with the fluky. No way. That wasn't fluky. No.
Because it wasn't a stamp on it.
No.
Is that going to affect it?
That was a big win over a big name, former champion. Saturday's card was very entertaining. And by the way, shout out to our guy, Sage Northcutt, for looking great and reinventing himself and really, I thought, a lot more aggressive than he was in the past.
Looked great.
A lot of fighters, not Sage. Sage was Sage, but a lot of fighters really took control of the microphone. Holy smokes. Dustin Poirier was like, I'm not going to ask for this. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to have next. I'm going to have the winner of Gaethje and Alvarez. And oh, by the way, you can write that check out to me, the $50K. Like, he was very aggressive when it came to that.
Even before that, they caught him on camera yelling to Sean Shelby that he wants the winner of that fight and he wants his $50K. He knew what he wanted.
Yeah. Marlon Moraes. There were a lot of guys who came out and were just
John Anik with the assist on the Marlon Moraes one.
Anik's just guiding them,
pointing.
Yeah.
Hey, here's this camera. Here's this person. Just this is where you need to be.
I texted Anik this, and maybe it wasn't the best time, but it was in the middle of the broadcast when they announced the Bisping news, and he's like, "I just found out 30 seconds ago," and I was like, "Come on, John, you don't follow me on Twitter? I reported this 4 hours ago," and I felt, okay, you know what? Anik's got a lot on his plate. He's
kind of working.
Broadcast. But it was just a friendly joke. I love John Anik. Are you kidding me? Come on. He's number one. I'm the one who campaigned and said that it's crazy that they're looking for, a so-called,
John Anik
big
is
name
the guy.
to be, anyway.
But, shout out to everybody who made the most of their mic time.
Sure.
Okay. Diego Sanchez.
Yes.
Is it time for the UFC to stop booking him in fights?
Man, this is that discussion, right? When look, I'll say this. In the past, and it hasn't happened often, in the past, Dana White has tried to usher out guys who have taken a lot less damage than Diego Sanchez has. And only he can decide, and we could just say, but yes, you asked me, like, as a fan, as someone who watched him, tough one, and we've seen him through it all, and he's been incredibly entertaining. Would I be against the idea of him walking away? Absolutely not.
He's the lone.
It feels uncomfortable now, you know?
He's the lone surviving member of Tough One.
But I'm worried, given his spirit, that, you know, they say goodbye and then he just goes and fights for someone else.
Well, that's the reality. Like, you know, we've heard this so many times with so many fighters.
Yeah.
Even a guy like Chuck Liddell ushered into retirement, you know, for his health, and rumblings of him coming back.
Sure.
And there is no way to force this issue. Diego's going to have to make that decision on his own. And it's a tough thing to say, but I'll say this. I don't know if these fights at this point in his career are going to add anything to his legacy or prove anything further. He has proven all he has to prove. He's you know, one of the OGs. So it's up to him to decide, you know, when it's time to call it quits. But his legacy is cemented for me, is firm. He's one of those dudes, those first ballot UFC guys.
Hated this fight when it was announced. Felt like it was a middleweight against a lightweight, you know? Just look at the fight. Look at the size difference. He was
in control at a certain point, and
Matt Brown is much bigger than
the
Diego
elbow
Sanchez.
turned it around. You know, it's I don't know. I would be okay with not seeing Diego in there. It's tough, but there's nothing we can say. It's always up to the fighter, and they know when it's time.
Yeah.
Or when they, you know, it
Diego's
will be
great. He's
time for them.
given us so many great memories, but it's hard to see him succumb to punishment like that time and again.
Do you think Michael Bisping is making a mistake by coming back this soon? Also, they asked how he's being cleared already. He touched on it on the show. He spoke to the commissions and was cleared, and now that 30-day suspension is no longer applied.
He's at the end, right? And in his mind, it's a 2-for-1. I just did a training camp. I'll get 2 paydays out of it.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have to do much. He's pretty much on weight, right? How big could he have gotten? And, you know, it's a 2-for-1. And so in his mind, he has 2 paydays left. He is going to suck this thing until it's absolutely dry. And so he gets this one quick payday, and then he goes to London and calls it a day. It is, I mean, Michael Bisping is banged up, and, you know, he could talk about his injuries and his wear and tear better than I can. Again, as I said, when I heard it, I was kind of shocked. But then when you hear Bisping and the way he talks, and there is something to be said. Look, we love these guys. We love these women because they do things that we can never dream of doing. They have courage like we can never, ever, ever dream of possessing. They go into a cage, they close a door, and they're, essentially naked, fighting in front of the world. And it's an unbelievable thing to watch, and we live vicariously through them. And Michael Bisping saying that, you know, I am emotionally hurt and I need this, you know, this chaser, if you will, to get over the pain of last Saturday. I get it. And this is why he's so admirable. This is why we love him. This is why I say we're going to miss him. I get it. I want to root for someone like that because I can never dream of doing something like that. But yes, knowing what we know about injuries and CTE and all this stuff, there is a part of you that feels uncomfortable. If his wife's behind it, if he's behind it, if the commissions are behind it, then more power to you. I hope everything goes okay. And Kelvin Gastelum's a much younger and fitter fighter, less wear and tear. And it's like, it's Fight Pass and it's in Shanghai. There's nothing really glamorous about the whole thing, but you know,
he wants back in.
He wants because he wants
it.
He wants to erase it and he wants the payday. And he was honest about that. And, you know, as a father of 3 myself, I get it. I certainly get it. But yeah, there was a part of me that was like, damn, this feels a little early. He even asked me. What do you think? And I said, you know, as someone who admires you, I feel like this might be a little early. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. Like, are you over it? Mentally, are you clear? He says he's all good. So let's see.
We'll find out. Okay, Anderson getting flagged. Edgar pulling out. Aldo going in. Conor out of control at Bellator. Bisping entering the fray. News-wise, what was the craziest 24-hour stretch you have ever seen in MMA? Was it that night? Was it that day?
No, there's been some I mean, last year I feel like UFC 200 with John Jones. Maybe it wasn't 24 hours, but you know, the John Jones situation, the sale, and what transpired at 200, that was pretty darn nuts.
Yeah. That's a great one.
I don't know if I put that up there with 200. It was just kind of a strange, it was an old school. I mean, overall, 2017, there haven't been a ton of big fights, big events, and there haven't been, you know, a lot of big stories. This past week in particular was kind of like a string of weird, bad stories, negative stories, you know. I mean, Edgar pulling out was somewhat depressing, and then Dominic, thankfully, wasn't his knee or any part of his lower body, his legs or anything like that. But I wouldn't say it was the craziest, no. Friday was kind of weird, though, with the Conor thing and the Anderson thing happening on the same day. But the Anderson thing even happening, you're like, damn. It wasn't like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if GSP popped, you'd be like, holy crap. Demetrius Johnson, holy crap. But unfortunately, we've been through this before with Anderson.
Sure. What are realistic options for the UFC 219 headliner? This might have been the number one question this week. People are worried about UFC 219.
You should be. Cyborg, Home, look, like Ted DiBiase said and Conor McGregor said, every man has a price. So do they go back to that? Well, let's see. It's very simple. Stipe Miocic isn't getting that call as of right now. He still has his issues. And quite frankly, who's he fighting? Daniel Cormier probably fighting in January, as we've said. GSP not fighting. I don't rule out Tyron Woodley just yet. Let's keep him in that mix.
He did say he was going to fight this year.
Where did he say that?
On Fox, I want to say.
On Saturday?
After the fights, yeah. He did say.
I don't rule him out just yet, and I'll leave it at that. Conor McGregor not fighting. Holloway's fighting on December 2nd. TJ just fought. TJ's not fighting because the TJ situation, and he doesn't have an opponent. Rose not fighting. Tough finale early December. And then there's Amanda Nunes and there's Cyborg. So do they do Amanda Nunes versus Cyborg? Possibly. Do they do Cyborg versus Holly Holm and figure that out? Maybe. Or do they pull a rabbit out of their hat and try to get Tyron Woodley to fight and is his shoulder healed? I mean, those are really the options. As of right now.
This is what Woodley said on the post-fight show. The quote is, "You might be seeing me this year at some point. Just stay tuned."
It's funny how they always call the guy, who they criticize when they need him most. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, look.
But it's unfortunate because this is usually a big card and it shouldn't take this long to get this card done.
Yeah.
And you just lost Dominic Cruz. God forbid we lose the Khabib fight. The best one would have been Conor versus Tony.
Knocking on the wood.
I saw Dana talk about it. Dana said, look, that was the plan. Conor fighting December 30th. I said it a million times before the fight. Even his team said it. But as Dana put very well, you get $85 to $100 million, plans change.
Yeah.
And, right now it seems like the plans have changed.
How do you feel about 280 characters on Twitter? Are you a fan of this shift?
Okay, I'll tell you what I'm not a fan of. When people recognize that they have the 280 characters and then they post something stupid where it's like a poem or a song and then it gets cut off. Oh, I'm so happy. I'll say this. As someone in the news business who usually uses Twitter to disseminate news, yeah, I'm very happy about it because sometimes you're trying to write something quick and you got to fit it in 140 and it's very frustrating.
Now, as somebody in the news business.
Yeah, right. Okay.
No, I'm asking you. Sorry,
okay,
I'm not in the news business. As you are somebody in the news business, isn't there something to the limiting of it to 140 characters and you link to your further thoughts? You have your further thoughts, but it's not in the body of it.
Sometimes you're writing a quote. Sometimes you're writing something where it doesn't fit.
Right, you don't want to break up a quote.
Yeah, that happens often. But then you have to do the ...
That's fair.
So it makes life easier. I don't think that I've abused it. I think you know what happened? I got it earlier than a lot of people for some reason.
Yeah.
And then everyone got it last week. And then guess what? It went away from me. And so for 5 days last week, I was back to 140. It was very strange. And I didn't want to make a big stink about it because I feel like everyone would just laugh at me. And then
I would laugh at you.
Somehow it came back. It doesn't bother me. People who abuse it with the silliness, yeah, that bothers me. But from a news perspective, more information the better. I feel like 280 is fine. I wish that they would just give Donald Trump 140. But other than that,
there's a lot of people I wish they'd just give 140. But
yeah, I'm fine.
I'm okay with it too. I feel like Twitter is still going to be about brevity, and not everybody is going to use that. That said, I know you're annoyed by some people using the funny thing. There's been some good ones. If you Law and Order SVU, their Twitter put out the opening of the show. These officers of the Special Crimes Unit. It was amazing, and they put the dun. It was great. Some people have done it right.
And by the way, you know what it reminded me of? Because I got it first, And then everyone got it. It reminded me.
Hey, you said that already.
It reminded me of when I went to Syracuse University as a student my first year, and all the bratty Americans wanted to drink and go crazy. And in Quebec, the drinking age limit is 18. And so I had already been exposed to this for years. I mean, it's really just recommended, like 16, 15, you're all good. And so everyone's like, let's go crazy. Alcohol. We're so excited, going nuts. And I'm like, you amateurs, this is old hat for me. And that's what last week felt like when everyone got their 280. I'm like, you know what? I've been there, done this. All right.
I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the I remember my first beer meme?
No.
Because that's what that was.
Okay.
Which is great. I'm into it.
All right.
But second, you realize that those people had been drinking before that, right?
Well, they certainly didn't act like it.
Yeah,
it was embarrassing for everyone involved.
That's another question and another debate, but and
they were acting like
you're
idiots.
Right. But legal drinking age in America is
just like those people,
suggestion.
Who I met 13 years ago. A lot of you on Twitter were acting that way, and you should all be ashamed of yourselves.
That was it.
All right,
we're done.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Nice swag. Is it swag or swag?
I've heard swag, but I say swag.
Yeah. It reminds me of that great Reebok commercial when they say, "This is swagger." You know that one?
I'm familiar.
Oh, my God. Honestly, in the history of sports commercials, is that one of the worst? I mean, it's just the most amazing thing about that commercial is that they had another commercial, an old commercial. They took out that footage. They put in Sage and Cynthia and Francis, but they kept the same freaking copy. Dun, 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 dun. This is the UFC. Like, what is this? Got it, get it. No, what is it? Get it, get it. It's just so bad. It drives me nuts. How could they make something that's so bad? Anyway, and they had to play it like 95 times.
It's stuck in your head.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you want to go to my local sports authority and look for Reebok gear, ultimately not find.
UFC store. That's the promo.
Oh, is that the promo? All right. I'm done. I just lost my voice. Thank you very much. You can hear my music. What a day it has been. All kinds of news broken on this Monday afternoon. Jack Swagger flew in just to appear on this show to tell the world that he is now a member of the Bellator MMA heavyweight roster. How about that? What a mensch. What a great moment. What an exciting moment. Was I afraid that someone would leak this information before the program? Yes, I was. Someone would pull an Ariel Helwani? Yes, I was. But we did it. We worked them. Congratulations to all the winners this past Saturday. Some great victories. Dustin Poirier, Matt Brown, Andrei Arlovsky. We didn't even talk about Junior Albini's diapers. Come on. How was that not in Rick's picks? I was laughing uncontrollably, like stream. I just couldn't take it. It was hilarious. The best part was John Anik and Paul Felder, who did a great job, by the way, just trying to ignore it, but you could tell they couldn't unsee it. It was just great. Anyway, what a great day. Thank you to all our guests today. Thank you very much to Dwayne Ludwig for stopping by. Thank you very much to Steve Mazzulli. Thank you very much, of course, to Jack Swagger. Thank you very much to Rampage Jackson, Tiki Gosen. Congratulations on the deal. Thank you very much to Cub Swanson. Good luck on December 9th. Thank you very much to Mackenzie Dern. Good luck to her on December 8th. Thank you very much to Michael Bisping, the great Michael Bisping. Good luck to him November 25th. Thank you very much to Michael Carter Williams. And of course, thank you very much to Jimmy Rivera. Back next week, same time and place. Until then, I say peace. Samaria.